Should the Saints look at trading for wide receiver Davante Adams? That's $1 million question that everybody's going to be asking until Davante Adams has been traded from the Raiders. Hi, guys. John Hendricks here, Second and Saints, obviously Saints News Network as well. Just wanted to come in and talk a little bit about Davante Adams, the Saints, because that's the adage here is that, when somebody comes in and is available, the Saints should be players, right? I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. And look, rightfully so, 31 other teams should be interested in Davante Adams. He's 32 right now, turns 33 in December. He's obviously not happy with the Raiders. He's kind of requested, obviously, a trade from them. And Las Vegas looks like they're willing to at least listen to some offers. It looks like a second round pick is kind of where they have their baseline at the moment. And look, Davante Adams, he's not going to see any of his salary cap for next year and beyond, right? Like, it's just how it's structured. None of that is guaranteed. It's a $44.1 million hit over next year and then $45.1 million in 2026. So it's just he's going to be owed that signing bonus. And so I think, just me personally, just one of those things where he's got that $15.7 million in the bonuses that's due to him each of the next 2 years. And so obviously the Saints might not, obviously, if any team that looks at it probably doesn't want to maybe necessarily take that on. That might be something the Raiders obviously are going to end up having to pay. But for New Orleans, look, here's the thing: you need more playmakers, right? And Dennis Allen has said as much. Taysom Hill, he's called out Alvin Kamara, Rashid Shaheed, and Chris Olave as the guys that are getting the plays and the targets. But after that, it's kind of a drop off, right? Like, I wrote this on Saints News Network on Wednesday morning, and just even talking about the gap between, Kamara, Olave, and Shaheed, and then the next on the receiving list is Foster Moreau. He's 10 catches behind Alvin Kamara, and then Rashid Shaheed, and then he's actually about 120 yards short of Alvin Kamara's receiving total. So the Saints do need playmakers. They need somebody else to step up here to be able to move the football. And right, like Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson at the tight end room. Maybe you can see Dallin Holker getting involved a little bit more. Maybe you get A.T. Perry back at some point. I know that's been a little bit frustrating. He had the hand injury he suffered in practice. Now it's a hamstring, so he's just not able to get on the field right now. Kendre Miller should be returning here soon, so that could help inject a little bit more into the offense. You're not necessarily getting all the production that you would want out of Jamal Williams, and they're not even using Jordan Mims. So it's just one of those things where, look, Clint Kubiak's offense is still moving the football extremely well. 4 games in, they're top 10 in a lot of categories. The Saints offense, just the past 2 games, it's just been kind of like a little bit flat. Like the Eagles game, anytime you lose Eric McCoy, he's just not replaceable, right? And so with that, they struggled heavily. I thought they did a better job against the Falcons. They were running the football early. They were asserting some dominance there. They were doing some things. There's some play calls I just didn't care for, as the game progressed a little bit. But the Saints offense in 2 weeks had done exactly what they needed to do in clutch moments to be able to deliver and at least put themselves in a position to win, which I think is different beyond what we've seen in the past several years. And of course, they're still 2-2. That's the main takeaway here. They could be 4-1. They could 4-0. They could be 3-1, but they're 2-2. They are what their record says they are. Mason Tipton is a guy that they're really high on, undrafted rookie. We've not really seen Bub Means, Cedric Wilson Jr. He's more of the blocking presence. So this was kind of concerning going into this season, is that, you had your main guys, and Clint Kubiak's personnel has really revolved around 5 guys: Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, and Alvin Kamara. If you look at the formations, the personnel groupings, that's usually what they've been rolling with the most combo within the first 4 games. And so, look, you can look at it one of 2 ways. They need to get more from what they have. If you look at the street, maybe you look at the tight end room. This is kind of where you need a big physical presence like a Jimmy Graham, which again, that's ship might have sailed, but it's just worth pointing out that a big physical weapon, somebody that can help move the sticks, somebody that can help in the red zone. That's something that you kind of need. Now, Davante Adams, look, he's still extremely talented. Like, he's a former All-Pro. He's done a lot in this league. Obviously, the ties between him and Derek Carr exist a lot there. And so it comes down to, this is what where I guess the rubber meets the road. If the Raiders were to trade him right now, it would cost $13.5 million to the team who's going to end up inheriting him. And the Saints only have $3.26 million in salary cap space as of Tuesday morning. That's where the latest figures were. Wednesday it should be about the same too, but they don't have the space at the moment, right? And they can create space. They can do the things to maneuver and do what they got to do to make room for them. So that's part one, is they got to make space to be able to absorb that. As far as Davante Adams, and look, he's essentially going to be a free agent after this year, anyways, right? And so I think some of this obviously would mean the Raiders paying that bonus and such. Obviously, the team doesn't want to inherit that, but that's something that they're going to have to talk through, and that's kind of like one of the things that different regime, but you had Hunter Renfro situation last year where the Saints were reportedly close. Now you ask Mickey Loomis, he says that nothing ever serious happened, or nothing serious was ever happened in the talks, but it was reported that it was a contract, like who was going to pay who's going to take what, who's going to do all these types of things. And this is kind of a similar situation with Davante Adams. Now, again, different regime. It's possible that there is some talks through that and such. And Davante Adams is going to help whatever team he goes to, right? And we're 4 weeks in the NFL season. The trade deadline is a little bit over a month away, so you still got some time here. And I believe it's $968,000 each week that Davante Adams is on the roster for the Raiders. That's what gets slashed off of that $13.5 million tag if he's still on the roster each week that he's not traded, right? So it goes down a little bit, but that's the first thing. Second thing is the compensation. The Saints have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth round picks next year. It's kind of a rarity in some aspects, based off of past recent track history, but they do have the draft picks. So they could trade a second round to get Davante Adams, but they're probably going to have to swap day 3 picks. That's kind of based off of the, trade with like DeAndre Hopkins and other things as a baseline. So they might have to send in a something else and then send back something else. Like that's just sweetens the pot, possibly gets the deal done. But, look, do they need him? Maybe, maybe not. I think this offense has demonstrated that they can be effective. They can be really good and when they're hitting their stride. But the problem is these injuries are piling up. Taysom Hill's dealing with a rib injury. Alvin Kamara's playing hurt. He's got the ribs and the hip. Chris Olave had the hamstring flare up. I mean, look, guys are playing injured no matter what, right? Like, this is just football. They're going to play through bumps and bruises, all this other stuff. But you see the contingency plan, right? Like it was just like the Saints offensive line. It wasn't a matter of when it happened or if it happened. It was a matter of when it happened. And, look, they got by, I guess, if you will. But again, Eric McCoy is not a player that you replace. And so, look, the compensation, I don't think is unreasonable. I think the financials, you could make it work. But the thing is Davante Adams going to come in here and make your team better? Given how things have gone within Las Vegas, is it going to be fine for the foreseeable future? Is it going to establish any problems with the culture that they're trying to establish? I mean, there's all those things that come into play when you're looking at a player that's available via trade. Like it's just, you look and peel back the layers. It could have more to it. There could just be a bad situation there, and I think there's truth lies somewhere in the middle. And as far as the Saints go, they're going to at least do their due diligence. Like, every team should do their due diligence. They should make calls. They should feel it out. They should see, could we move this? What kind of contract stuff could we tinker with to be able to maybe put ourselves in a position? But will it ever get to that point? Is it that serious? I don't know. Again, we'll have to see how this kind of plays out. But obviously, it makes sense because Derek Carr and Davante Adams ties, all this other stuff. The Saints have talked to the Raiders in the past, and again, different regime, but it could potentially materialize. It may not materialize. I think other teams have a lot more ammo, especially space, that they would be willing to, kind of be able to say, okay, we can definitely do this and throw in the pick, and then we'll be fine. Like, we could still operate and all this other stuff. But look, Davante Adams is super talented. He's going to help some team out. Saints, if that's them, I don't know. I don't give it a great chance. But, again, never say never. You just don't know with this team. But I think their problems lie more with, just kind of the injuries that they're having right now and just being able to field a team like Willie Gay Jr., his hand injury. I posted a picture of from what he had posted on his social or his Instagram account that it looks like he had surgery on his hand. It looks wrist related. And again, I'm no doctor. I'm just merely speculating and making an educated guess that it's got to be something related to his wrist. And it sounds like he's going to be able to come back later, but he's going to miss some time. And I think the Saints just have a lot more pressing needs at the moment. And I just don't know that the Davante Adams coming in here is going to save your team, right? Like they're 2-2. You got to win against the Chiefs, although Dennis Allen's only 1-5 in prime time. And so the deck's stacked against you already. I just don't know if they're going to go walk into Kansas City and beat Kansas City in their own building, right? Like I just don't see that happening. And of course, those types of games, that's when they come out and they'll play gangbusters and beat them, right? Like this is how it goes sometimes in the NFL. But look, Davante Adams, they're going to do the due diligence. You got to feel it out. You got to see what's available. And look, if I'm the Saints, I think that's a conversation to be had. But does it get past the conversation? We'll see. I think they've got a little bit more things that they have to figure out on their aspect, and of course, you got some time, right? And trade deadline is not for, again, over a month, but the Saints at least will be interested, like 31 other teams probably should be interested, right? And so I don't know that it gets done. It's going to be intriguing to see where he does end up landing. I think there are some teams in better fits, maybe. And of course, you got to look at the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, former Packers playing. Like, of course, that would make sense too. But, look, we'll see where he lands up. Saints, just some thoughts on that with Davante Adams. We'll see where he lands. As always, make sure to tune into Second and Saints. We do our game previews. We do our post-game shows here. Be sure to catch up on all that. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out all the Ross's work on Locked On Saints. And then just thank you so much for your support. That'll do it for us. John Hendricks signing out.